my name is Carolina Espiro, and I am the writer-director of the Avon Lady. And the Avon Lady is loosely based on my mother. And when we first came to this country from Chile, her first job was an Avon Lady, and a lot of immigrants became Avon ladies, I later learned. But I wanted to tell a comedy story, a short story about that immigrant experience. But I wanted my mother to be in it. So instead of her being 25, I changed it to 65 so she could actually play herself in this story. It is loosely based. Not all the things that happened in the movie actually happened to her. It's actually more of a combination of a lot of stories that I've heard about Avon ladies trying to make it in the way in their careers. So and that's how it all came about. This was a whole family project.
So your mother was the star of this?
Yep, that's if you can see her, that's my mom,
Oh, wow.
Elena
That's
Espiro.
nice. She's very
Yeah.
good in it. She's very, very good in it.
Yes, I was very pleasantly surprised what a natural actress she is.
Yeah. Has she acted before this?
Actually, no. She went when she became an Avon lady, she went on to become a complete, businesswoman. Went up the ranks in a corporation that she joined. Became the CFO. She was a big corporate lady, and then she eventually started her own business, and then after that, she kind of semi-retired and kept working. But she was working at Macy's and her hands were hurting, and I was like, Mom, I bet I could get you into commercials. You have such a great look and you're so expressive. And so I trained her for a couple of weeks, and I got her a meeting with my commercial agent, and they loved her, and she started booking commercials. Around that time is when I decided to write a short film with her in it, and that's when I really got to see her range of what she could do. And so now that's, her, my dad too, both of my parents, they have an agent and they go out for commercials, and that's basically their major form of income or in
Wow.
retirement. Yeah.
That's a nice like side story benefit of your film too. It's how is she enjoying your mother enjoying all this
All
is
the
the film getting like acting awards? Is she
Yes,
yeah.
yes, she got she's been nominated several times, also won Best Actress. It's so funny because all her life she's always been the person kind of cheering me on, because I was a dancer, I was an actress, and this is kind of the first time where the roles are reversed and she's, in the spotlight, and she's not the person who will shun the spotlight, but she doesn't exactly need it. So it's a wonderful thing watching her, because she's very authentic and very grateful, and she also shines, and she has no problems speaking in public. But I asked her, we had a couple of people offer her other auditions for other projects, and she's like, "Oh, I don't think I'm okay. I mean, if you're there, maybe, but I'm okay." So I think she's happy to have experienced that and to be able to have one other thing that we can connect on and talk about. A lot of parents and their kids, especially adult children, they sometimes drift apart, so to know that we have this in common, has been really great for our mother-daughter relationship. So, but I don't think she's going to be chasing after, stardom. I think she's very content where she is.
Does it suck? Does it totally suck?
Riquísima, me encanta.
This was all shot in California.
Mhm.
And what was the process putting the film together and how many days did you shoot?
We shot 2 days, and my producer didn't think we would be able to get it all in 2 days, incredibly enough. This was all done at the tail end of the pandemic. One of the reasons why I wrote this story was something we could shoot in our neighborhood, in my home, with the help with the neighbors. So the neighbors in the film, as the Avon Lady, because she does go from door to door, all the neighbors are actual neighbors. So my
Oh,
neighbor left, my neighbor to the right, they're all actual neighbors, not actors. I did hire two professional actors to play. One was who we call Half Naked Tom. He opens the door in a towel and just causes my mom to have a jaw drop. He's a professional actor and does some great work. And the other cameo we have was the jogger that kind of passes her by several times. Her name is Isabella Blake Thomas, and she is actually quite well known. She's one of the Disney princesses, and has played lead roles in Disney films. So we were so grateful to have her as a cameo. But for the most part, it was challenging mainly because I tend to think big under very small means, and but I surrounded myself as a first-time director. I surrounded myself with professionals who believed in me incredibly and helped me make it happen. My producer, my DP, Sophie Bruza, was an amazing, I can't believe she agreed to work with me. Amazing cinematographer. Uh, we even had some rain that was threatening to come in, and we made it through with an incredible sound department as well. And everybody in the crew was just so good, so patient. And the most difficult thing, challenging thing was my dogs. Like I had Honeybee, she has passed away. She passed away a month ago. But I'm so glad I was able to capture her. She was the dog that chases my mom down the street. And both of our dogs, Honeybee and Poppy, were trained since we had them. And so, but we weren't sure how they were going to handle the crew and, all of that. But we did trial runs with my camera. And since we already have the space, we were able to practice. And they were amazing.
I find it fascinating that you shot this in 2 days because there's a lot of setups. This
Yeah.
is very polished.
Yes. Well, the one, even though I was nervous to be a first-time director, the one thing I can say that I bring in is that I have over 20 years of acting experience. So being on every kind of set, whether it be multicam, TV, or single cam, or film, commercials, tons of those, being able to watch how they work, and just the necessity of prep was really important. And the fact that my DP was, and my producer Katie Ware, both of them were able to be like, okay, so just so you know, all these great ideas you have is going to require this many setups, so you
Mhm.
have to be able to condense it. And there were definitely shots I had to cut and condense down to be able to make it work. And sometimes I had to add something to be able to make it all
To
work
cover
together,
what you cut.
cover what we cut. Exactly. But I've always been pretty resourceful, and the great thing is that I had the vision. I knew exactly how I was going to edit it afterwards, and that's what helped. I was able to kind of look ahead.
You
Um,
shot for the edit then.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's kind of how my brain works. But I mean, granted, one other thing went wrong and this whole thing would have probably fallen apart. We were very, very fortunate that the actors, the dogs, the weather, they came through when they needed to, because we didn't have much room for things to go wrong. So it just worked out. I was very, very grateful.
Was acting part of what you want to do more and directing was a way to get you into acting?
It's actually kind of an interesting story. So, from really young, I always wanted to act, to the point where I remember once I went back to Chile, and I have an aunt who is apparently clairvoyant. Like she would read cards and do all of that. And I remember asking her, I was like, "Am I gonna be a famous actress one day?" And she was like, "No, that's not gonna happen for you, but you will be a great filmmaker." And I was absolutely livid. And I said, well, I'm going to act anyway. So I got a scholarship to Chapman University for theater performance. And then I started to notice that there was, they had a directing for theater program. And I mean, it started nagging that maybe that's something I should be doing. My dad always said I should be a director. He saw that for me. I just wanted to kind of be in the spotlight. And so I got to kind of dabble, and then I learned a lot from that class by Professor Thomas Braddock, who is just passed this year as well. But I learned a lot from him about, how to visually represent a story rather than just the words, but just kind of the movement, the blocking, how important that is, and being an actor, pulling performances out. And but then, I had my theater degree, I committed, and I went to Hollywood to, be an actress. But it was still kind of nagging at me that, maybe I want to do that. And it wasn't until I started getting on set and my brain started going beyond my role, and seeing how, I really think that he should come in from that way, because it's just going to tie in better afterwards. Or the story just went beyond just my role. And then I started to direct some theater out in LA. I started working with some professional actors and directing them, and I started to build a little bit more confidence that I can pull out performances from both professional and non-actors. And then it just kind of started boiling down to, I don't want to go back to school to have to do this. I've already, invested so much time, so much money. And then finally I started, meeting some directors and mentors, and they just said to me, they're like, look, you don't need to go back to school to do this. You've already had 20 years of experience being on set, and knowing more than a person would if they were just going to school. What you need to do is you need to start following other directors and learn the ropes that way. What you need is to have a clear vision, and then just the basic ropes on that, and how to communicate that vision to your team. And I was like, okay. So I tried to do that, but then I realized that if you want to direct, no one's going to hand you a script unless you've done it before. You're going to have to start writing. I'm like,
Yeah.
God, what? I have to write? So I was like, so I started to write. And it took a while for me to get to it because I had a lot of resistance. And the funny thing is, I always love what I end up writing. I really enjoy it at the end, but it's the beginning. It's like, it's so overwhelming. And I had something, and then pandemic hit, and I was like, I can't shoot this. There's just, I need an audience. I can't shoot what I wrote. And so Matt, my husband, was like, well, you're gonna have to start over. I'm like, oh, I gotta start all over. And I remember that day, I was like, what can I do? What can I shoot in this neighborhood that's not going to require a lot of people? I'm like, I do want to work with my mom. Oh, wouldn't it be funny if she was an Avon, like a door-to-door saleswoman? And then I pitched it to my mom, and she was like, oh, that's so funny, because I was an Avon lady.
Yeah.
And that's how that whole thing started. Um, and then now that I've done it, it brings me so much joy. I right now, in this moment, I consider acting as my day job, and then directing is what I want to do. I would love to shift over. And the great thing is as a director and a writer, I can, if I have the bug and I want to hop in, I can. I don't have to wait for the roles to come to me. And on top of that, being able to be the one to be able to offer jobs and create jobs for people, especially those underrepresented, is just a wonderful bonus to that.
And
So
that comes back to the theme of your film. It's about an immigrant wanting to fit in too.
stepping out of that comfort zone. Yeah, it was amazing. And I've been told this before from other creators, that a lot of times you start writing a story and you want to send out a message, and what ends up happening is that it actually teaches you something in return. It sends you the message back. I thought this whole time the Avon Lady was about my mom, but I think it's more about me.
Well, thank you for doing this today. I hope you had fun.
I had a a great time. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this and really delve into my story. It's such a pleasure and an honor.